Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. Thank you. Hello. Every business turnaround assignment is different. Some people will always apply the same processes, the same structure in the way of doing things. But if you are an advisor, consultant, or a business director going into a new project, it's worth bearing in mind that the people and the circumstances are not going to be the same, even if it's the same industry. Nevertheless, there are some, I believe, some golden rules which apply to every turnaround scenario, and I'd like to run through some of those today. This is all part of one of my masterclasses on business and corporate turnaround and transformation. So here we go with one or two what I believe are golden rules if you are a consultant or a turnaround director carrying out a business turnaround assignment. First thing I think is it's important to keep a diary or a log to record everything that you do. It's very important in case things do go wrong, especially if you're dealing with a company that has got insolvency issues, as you maybe ask questions later on if things don't quite well work out as well as you thought. So it's worth doing that, and also it's a reference point for any challenges that you might get from members of your team on actions that have been taken and agreed. And I think it's worth documenting those, as well as documenting everything through board meeting minutes, of course. And when you were looking at the problem, look at all the options, consider all the options from the do nothing to do everything scenario. You're under pressure when you're in a turnaround situation. So thinking time is crucial. And to do that, it's worth giving yourself some space. And that could be off the premises. It could be time either at home or just, as I have done, I should have left the office and gone for a walk outside in a local park or something. I just took myself off into the car park. I've gone for a coffee and done something different. It's worth doing that. Look at all the options. But to do that, you need some thinking space. You need to get buy-in from the directors for any decisions that you're making or that are being made by the team. Bearing in mind that as a turnaround director, your role there is not to micromanage the business, but is to lead the team. Turnarounds cannot be achieved by one person. The white knight is scenario is not true. White knights throw money into things. So John Harvey Jones made good television, but his turnarounds were not done in total isolation. You need a team, and you need to have the directors on your side. And if you haven't got the right directors, you need to change them. But you've got to get them to agree completely on the decisions that you are all taking as a team. Also, you are advising the company. You're probably there as a shadow director, at the very least. And it's important that the directors, particularly, are taking formal insolvency advice if the company's in a potentially insolvent position. It can't pay its creditors as they fall due. It may have an insolvent balance sheet, or there is a risk of the company becoming insolvent. The fact that the company is insolvent does not necessarily mean that you've got to go through a process. If it is in the best interests of the creditors to turn it around operationally, then that is the right thing to do. But you have to have a high degree of confidence that you can do that. And in my experience, all turnaround need two things: time and money. So you're likely to need either investment from outside, or you've got to be able to raise the necessary finance from within through cost reduction exercises, etc. Bear in mind that you will be operating as a shadow director. You can't really advise on a turnaround effectively, I don't think. You've got to take an executive role. You've got to make decisions. You've got to be able to authorize payments, etc. You've got to hire and fire. So you're going to be at very least a shadow director, or even a de facto director. Or in some cases, I've actually taken on board the legal position as a director of a company, as that is the only way we can effect the change that is important. And you've got to be seen to be doing things then equally um, um, along with the other directors, because you are equally liable in the law if things do go wrong. Be prepared to challenge any forecasts and predictions that are made by the directors. They're likely to be protective about them, and quite often the forecasts are based upon historical trends, and there's been no real thinking about what can be achieved in the future. Quite often they're overambitious. It is better to be conservative rather than too ambitious, in my personal view. But challenge them to think more clearly about the assumptions and about what that can be achieved. Because the important thing is not numbers. The important thing is how we're going to get those numbers, how we're going to achieve the forecast, what actions are going to be taken. So we've got to have something that's realistic. So don't assume that the forecasts generated by the accountant are correct. Just assume that they're not and challenge them. For yourself, you should not be afraid or even hesitant to take advice from other colleagues from within your organization or from without if you've got a difficult situation. I often do that. Being a turnaround manager can be lonely, especially if you have a management team that are not particularly supportive or they're suspicious. The spotlight's on you. As I've said before, there are no white knights in this game. So if there are areas where you are uncertain, talk to other people outside the company, talk to other advisors, talk to friends. Just sound other people out. Make sure that you also have a mentor to advise you as well. If we're giving advice, then it is worth being modest and accepting that we also need advice ourselves from time to time. I think it's important to empathize with the directors. The directors have been running the company. They will know more about the business and the markets than you will. Some of them will be very good at what they do. They're good administrators of a business, but they're not particularly good at a turnaround because it's not something that they do every day. Perhaps you do if you are a turnaround manager, director, consultant. Also, they'll be under considerable stress, especially if they are financially obligated in the business and shareholders. So they're not going to be working at their best. So I think it's important to empathize with them, not sympathize, empathize with them and walk alongside them, encourage them, inspire them, lead them, support them, so you'll get the best out of them. It is also important, in my view, to be a part of the team. Stand up for your own recommendations, but be able to justify them. But make sure that you are perceived to be a part of the team. Try to be more of a facilitator. You're not the expert, not coming in with all the answers. You don't have all the answers. The answers are within the company. It's your job to find where those answers lie and who has them and get the best out of people to facilitate. It's important to be creative. Many turnaround consultants that I know come from a financial background and work to a process. As I've said at the beginning, every company is different. It's different usually because of one major thing. The people are different, but also the markets are different, the circumstances are different, the history is different, the structure is different, reporting systems are different. So turnaround is not a process. It's trying to think of different ways to do different things to respond to the situation as it is. So it needs fresh ideas and it needs to be what we call thinking outside the box, thinking differently. And that is why sometimes you've got to literally, physically get outside the box. Sometimes you have to be bold and sometimes aggressive. Sometimes you've got to be a forceful director. If people are hesitant and reluctant, but you know that you are right, you've sometimes got to put your foot down and not pussyfoot around. Using the approach of continual improvement, incremental change doesn't work in a turnaround. Things have got to be more dramatic, and that means changing the culture and the way people do things. Try and find out the things that have worked in the past in the company and those that haven't. Quite often you'll hear the response from management: "We've tried that before, it didn't work." Well, challenge that. Did they really try it, and why didn't it work? Isolate the things that have have not worked. Get rid of them or change them. It's important, I believe, not to be prescriptive, and this is linked to being creative. What worked in another company may not work here. Sometimes it does. Sometimes the approach works. So, but avoid being prescriptive. Avoid walking around with a model in your head saying, "This is the way I turn around a business because this is what I've done before. Therefore, I will apply it here." It may not necessarily work. Just look at the things you've done before and look at those which are applicable or which may work and use that experience. Otherwise, you've got to respond to the situation that we're in, and it needs a fresh approach. So, I'm summarizing: don't think of the obvious, allow your mind to be less constrained, and even if the ideas you generate might seem a bit off the wall, to others they may not be. At the very least, it may stimulate some thinking and lead to the right solution. We've all been in those situations where somebody's put their hand up and said, "Can I ask a stupid question?" And quite often that question is not stupid, it's simply an objective look at the situation. Above all, keep a positive demeanour without being complacent or optimistic. We're not going to be saying the problem is solved. I'm here. I'm Jack the Lad. I'm the White Knight. All the problems have got away. It's all going to be sorted. No, we don't want to be doom and gloom, but we want to be positive that we can succeed. We can turn this business around if the big if we do carry out all the actions that we've agreed upon. If everybody puts in their effort, that is everybody within the whole company. So the problem is not the problem itself, but finding the right solution or solutions. And sometimes that isn't the one that management want. If you want more information on this and how to turn around a business, my book is available, I think, on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, one or two other outlets. Or you can contact me. So that's Business Turnaround, How to Do It. I hope these golden tips have been of value, and I'll speak to you again at another time. I hope you've subscribed to my channel, and you'll receive more of my videos. Thank you for watching and listening.